I'm dying but haven't told anyone. I was diagnosed with cancer a little over 2 weeks ago after a regular checkup. Turns out I have a tumor on my colon that has spread to other areas, liver and lungs so far, and will require extensive chemo and surgery for any chance to live longer than 8 months I'm not having any treatment. And I haven't told my wife because she'll only pressure me to get the treatment, which result in months of pain and suffering for a relatively small chance. Instead, I'm making sure our last few months together are filled with only happy memories. I'm starting work later and finishing earlier each day to make her breakfast in bed and take her on dates in the evenings. My landlord I rent my workshop from has agreed to let me run my business rent-free for the next 6 months, which means significantly less financial stress and I can save a lot more. So she has something to carry her over afterwards. I hope she'll forgive me for taking this path. I don't care that my grandmother is dying. My relationship with my grandmother has always been special. When I was young, she was a fun and kind person who indulged me with puppet shows, cookies, and help with homework. However, I noticed that my parents had a strained relationship with her. My mom avoided her, and my dad kept his distance despite her doting on him. Even my favorite relative, my aunt, seemed uneasy around her. As I grew older, I discovered that my grandmother's selfishness was the reason for this tension. She refused to help others, made snarky and racist comments, and prioritized her own luxurious tastes. She treated my aunt like shit, despite her accomplishments, and made my dad buy her things simply because he had a higher salary. This behavior created a loveless and abusive environment within our family. Experiencing the physical torment and witnessing the mistreatment of my loved ones led me to dislike her. Now 76 years old and 5 years without her husband, she has fallen into a deep depression. Her loneliness is apparent, but when her children visit, she still berates them in subtle ways. She guilt trips me into staying over, claiming she is lonely, but I no longer feel sorry for her. It may sound harsh, but I believe she deserves to face the consequences of her actions alone. Her signs of dementia provide some relief, as her mind is taken away from her current pain. Despite her tears, I cannot bring myself to pretend to love someone who has caused so much harm to my family. Is it wrong that I lack sympathy, even though I know she cries every day? My husband's brother watched me sleep. My husband's brother confessed that every time he stayed at my apartment, which was frequently because we lived in different countries, sometimes he would stay for a month plus at a time, he watched me sleep. It started innocently enough, a misplaced item here, an open drawer there. I dismissed it as my forgetfulness, attributing the strange occurrences to my own absent-mindedness. But as the days passed, the incidents multiplied, and I just couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. One evening, I couldn't sleep, and found myself tossing and turning in bed. I woke up to the eerie feeling of another presence in the room. Of course not my husband, because we sleep together every night. This time was different. I was too scared to move, but couldn't get myself to fall back asleep, so I submitted myself to laying completely still in the dark room. Minutes turned to hours, and it seemed as though the night would never come to an end. I heard the nose of what sounded like staggered breathing, as if someone were trying to hold their breath or breathe quietly. I shut my eyes tight in fear and didn't open them and eventually fell back asleep. I woke with him staring at me. He was literally inches away from my face just staring, and I freaked out. He broke down and confessed. My husband was asleep next to me. My husband and him were not close after that.